What do you think about bump stocks? I'm going to tell you what I think about bump stocks and why I think it is not a good idea for people to ban these. I don't think it's going to make any difference with anything if they do ban them. Here we go. The number one spot, bump stocks are pretty uncomfortable to use. There's no other way to describing it. You basically take the handle off the AR-15 and you put this other little thing where the handle goes. Then you attach that to this plastic piece that moves back and forth in the bump firing recoil motion of the gun. It is extremely uncomfortable to use. It's extremely chintzy and cheap looking and feeling. It's absolutely not the same thing is converting a gun in a full auto or 3 round burst by like swapping out like the trigger mechanism. Not at all. So to compare it to full auto is just wrong, just because of how uncomfortable it is. The number two spot, I'd like to say that I have never met a professional shooter or instructor who has preferred a bump stock. Never. Not in my whole life have I ever met somebody that said, oh, I'm telling you, a really effective thing for defending your life or for making your gun extremely tactical is putting a bump fire stock on it. It is simply a gimmicky device that is designed to have a lot of fun at the range at the expense of others hearing that loud popping noise and at the expense of you wasting a ton of ammo. In the number three spot, I just do not think that a bump fire stock used in a crime would necessarily cause more damage or devastation than a bump fire stock not being used in a crime. I think it's negligible. I think the Vegas shooter meticulously planned for the gun to be more comfortable by using a tripod. He meticulously planned for the barrels to heat up by having multiple long guns. So the reality is, I don't think bump stocks necessarily would have a correlation with more devastating mass shootings. I don't think it's linked because of how impractical it is to use the device. And furthermore, besides the Vegas shooting, please name one situation where a bump fire stock was used in a crime. I just personally haven't heard of it until that Vegas shooting. Now, in the number four spot, a lot of people don't understand that bump firing is something you can do without a bump fire stock at all. Some people do it by like putting their thumb in their belt and then having the gun balanced on their hand in a certain way to where it'll cause a bump fire effect. But the bump fire stock's idea was to replicate that bump firing motion that you can just do like with a belt and make it a little more controllable. Either way, it's not doing anything that you can't do already. It's just making it more controllable. But to the extent that it's making it more controllable, it's still uncomfortable to the point to where it is just still impractical. So that being said, you could easily just make a bump fire stock if they ban it. Criminals, if they really wanted it, they would just make one because it's not rocket science. So I just don't see any purpose in banning it. Now, in the number five spot is the big what's next. If they're going to ban bump stocks, is this a slippery slope? Is this a valid slippery slope to where they're going to use it to rationalize banning something else? If they're banning something that has only been used in one very horrendous crime, but hasn't really been used anywhere else for years, it's been out for years, what else are they going to justify banning out of sheer hysteria, not sheer logic? So it's that big what next that has a lot of people worried. Now, the honorable mention is just a gee whiz obvious fact that if you ban something, it doesn't necessarily make it so that a criminal can't get it. And I've already gone through reasons that a criminal would never even want a bump fire stock, or anybody would want a bump fire stock. It is just honestly a gimmicky thing. but people have no trouble in the inner cities getting cocaine. People have no trouble in the country getting methamphetamine. People have no trouble anywhere getting marijuana. I do not think banning anything works. Plain and simple. That's the honorable mention. Let me know your personal take on this. Do you think they're actually going to go ahead and ban bump fire stocks? Do you agree or disagree with bump fire stocks being banned? Just let me know. I want to hear your ideas. Do you agree with what I just said? Do you think I'm making valid points? Let me know in the comments section, and please hit like and subscribe.